Yep, you guys see the title. Today we are diving in one of the darkest forums on the internet, Incel.is. If you guys are new to this forum, we've done this a few times on this channel, and I have to be extremely careful with this forum because it gets very dark, guys. This is where the worst of the worst type of incels discuss various things. Sometimes it's a little lighter, sometimes very, very, very dark. And for the most part, some of the video will be blurred, of course, because I don't want to be in trouble with YouTube. And so that's just a preference. I'm gonna do my best. I pre-saved like one or two articles that or forum topics where I think we can keep it unblurred, but a majority of the unblurred extended content will be on the Patreon for those of you that are Patreon members. And if you are interested, it's the first link in the description box. Completely fine if not. I am gonna do my best to read this forum as much as I can. I'm gonna have to use a lot of, code words and things and that because you guys know how it is. And before we do get started, I wanna say, incels as a whole is not a bad thing. Like if you're an involuntary celibate, it's okay. There's chill ones out there. I've met some of you guys and you guys are cool. We're specifically talking about the very, very dark side of incels, the ones that just hate on others. And like, I don't think regardless of what group you are in, do you deserve to just downright hate or say these volatile, inciting, hateful words towards other groups. And it's not just towards women. A lot of them are towards women, but sometimes they just hate on like every type of person that aren't them. And yeah, those are the incels that we're gonna be talking about, and those are the ones that I dislike. But again, if you're just an incel, that's chill out there. We're not talking specifically about you. Just wanted to have that disclaimer. All right, let's get into this. So right off rip, I'm gonna blur, but I just want to be very, very careful before I unblur. All right, I think we can read this one. The topic of this one says, moving to the West as a 5'2" guy. And it's actually a repost from r/short guys, which is another subreddit that we cover on this channel. Moving to the West as a 5'2" guy. To preference, I would like to clarify that the US is not on my list since it's almost impossible to obtain citizenship for me. And I already accepted the fact that I would not be able to find a partner because of my height. So yeah, that aside. So I'm 28 years old and I'm a 5'2" guy from Asia. Okay, so very similar to me. I'm 27, I'm about to be 28, and 5'4", and I'm also originally from Asia. Main reason are overall quality of life and better work-life balance. I love walking and cycling to get around. However, the infrastructure for that kind of lifestyle is non-existent here, and weather only allows me to do those activities very early in the morning and at night. It depends on where you are. I'm gonna finish this paragraph before I chime in on that. Would love if I could do outdoor activities without sweating like crazy due to high humidity and insane hot weather on top of that. Work-life balance here, as you know, for most Asian countries are horrendous. Therefore, I've had enough. Okay, so this guy has had a terrible time in Asia, wants to move to the West, but says that he can't do the US because of citizenship. So I'm guessing that's, Canada and maybe Mexico, probably Canada, I'm gonna guess. But more than likely, it just depends on where you are. If you're in Toronto, you might be able to do some more things outside. It does get cold up there sometimes, but I'm just curious where he's looking at. But anyways, I know the housing and cost of living for most Western developed countries are pretty bad right now. Yep. Yeah, especially Toronto and Canada. But coming from a non-developed country with experiencing life is relatively poverty, living in relative poverty, I'm just looking to live a simple life. Would honestly appreciate to hear experiences from those who are 5'5" and lower, since I believe those are the ones who I can relate to most of my struggle. I guess my question is, can I live a relatively normal daily life doing my activities apart from dating, of course? That is so interesting that he put the apart from dating. Like, as someone who, this is going to be my genuine advice before we get into the comments that are probably going to get a lot darker. If you're a short man, Asian man, and you're looking to move to the West, my experience is only from the US, and I can only speak from this perspective. My cousin, who is much more foreign than I am, has moved here about 4 years ago, and dating can be hard, 100%. He's also a short guy, Vietnamese guy. Luckily, he's found a wife back at home and so forth. But from my perspective, in order to date really well, you're gonna have to find groups that you're accustomed to. So like for him, he would or for this guy, he would need to find groups that speak his language or are more accustomed to him and so forth like that. In terms of dating, anytime you move anywhere for most short men, it's gonna be a little tough for sure. You're gonna have to work more on everything else. And is it impossible? No, because I mean, look at me. I am more Americanized, so I can't like be a direct comparison. It's also not good to compare anyways, but anything is legitimately possible. You just have to work on all the other stats. And it is a lot more work if I'm being 100% honest. But at the same time, just because you're 5'5" and below doesn't mean that you can't date. And it does become easier when you're in your culture of groups. So if you find, like, let's say you're Vietnamese, you find groups of Vietnamese people, you hang out with them, it becomes a little bit easier. Now, it is crazy that people think that just because you're short, your daily life activities will be different. I don't view that at all. The moment you identify with your height as your personality and stuff, yeah, you'll limit yourself because you're identifying as that. Like, we're all human at the end of the day. We're all doing human things. I guess like the only thing you can't do as a short guy is like reach the top shelf without a step stool. That's why I have a step stool. Let's read the comments though. This is where I believe things will get a little bit more interesting. It never even started. Wow, people are so messed up on this subreddit. Literally every single comment, guys, is most comments. I'm gonna say 80% of the comments is referring to, how do I say this on YouTube? You know, you go to a fishing store and you buy some rope, you know? So a lot of them are referring to that, which is just so messed up. Like, poor guy seems so pure. He has yet to meet a self-righteous, privileged, and then he says derogatory term for women. He should stay there where he is. Why would he enforce brutality on himself moving to the West? A lot of people, and you know, in these guys' perspectives, they have it bad, right? In the West or whatever, right? But they don't understand how much worse certain countries can be. Like, I'm not saying everywhere, but I've seen it. I'm from a third world country. Like, I've seen it. Yeah, I can't even read these, man. A lot of them are saying like, oh, it's over, bro. Just, you know, end your story as it is just because you're short. Like, what? Okay, I have to keep these blurs, guys. These are really bad. So this one says, cuddling the action of cuddling would probably feel really weird and gross. Okay. I just assume it, because obviously they haven't. I just assume it would feel really weird and odd when you do it, especially if you can feel her pelvic bone on your upper leg bones. You shouldn't be feeling that is not normal, because you would feel their buttocks, and their buttocks is more like where a lot of people store, you know, fat. So let's get, all right. I don't know. Doesn't really sound fun. It would probably hurt your back or make your legs stride or something. You know what, brother? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a little secret. If it does hurt your legs or your back, you had a lot of fun, my guy. You know, matter of fact, I'm going to move this story up a little bit forward because I feel like a lot of the stuff that we read technically later on is very like informative. This one's fun and goofy as hell, so I'm gonna move this one forward in the video. This is so silly. Like, they're trying to like cope with it and say like, oh, it probably would feel awful. I wouldn't want to do it anyways. But I'm not saying that they are doing that. I'm just assuming. All right. I also don't want anyone to see me clothesless. And it would also be weird having to look at her and make eye contact during the act itself. See, that's why you're not able to, because you're creating this taboo. And, you know, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, if you think like this, where it's like the person who thinks they're awkward, if you think you're awkward all the time, it's probably gonna inherently make you awkward. But if you just stop thinking things are awkward, which is easier said than done, but if you don't think something's awkward, more than likely it's not awkward. I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those things. And like, he's thinking it's going to be weird and stuff, so he's just making it a taboo for him. But I'll admit it, I do really want to try it at least once. Honestly, it's just a degenerate blank fantasy that I'm ashamed to admit, but I would like to do. Why are you ashamed to admit that? it's this whole Incel.is culture that they all want to put each other down. And they're like, how dare you want to not be an incel anymore? Like, you should want to not be. What? You should want everyone to not be, because it's a great thing as long as you're doing it in, the right ways, obviously. But I would like to do it with a 30/40-year-old, and then he says a very derogatory term for women, with large, chest, who's guided me through it. I think it would be hot if she was in control, to be honest. Don't know if I would get banned by saying that, just for laughs. But yeah, I'm probably too far gone and mentally underdeveloped to understand how this stuff actually works anyways. It's like a soy jack to normies. It's hecking incomprehensible. Come to think of it, I don't think about cuddling with women that often, just intimacy. Okay, that's actually not that bad. I want to give him like actual advice. It seems like he's actually young, which is sad. But just based on how he's talking, seems kind of young. Dude, the action of embracing someone, especially someone that you actually love and they love you back, it's one of the best things in the world. You should want to do it, and you should strive to be a great person so that you are able to find somebody that is equally a great person to do it with. And now, I hate this notion that this form is like, oh, I hate to admit it. Like, why? Why do you hate to admit that you want to do something like this? Like, it's okay, dude. It's normal. But God, these comments are fucking brutal. Also, all their names are just they're all racist, dude. I can't even read that. Like, the names that they pick, I don't understand men licking out a toilet, and then he refers to women. Wow. However, I believe I can feel great in a toilet looking at my unclothed self and being surprised, whether afraid or laugh. That attention that exists when I am clothless would truly make me feel good enough to, yeah, dude, oh my God, to self-cuddle, I'll say. That's why teen love is so important. You need to get your first experience early and break the ice. Yeah, I will say teen love is really important, although it's not the like be all and all, like you can still find love later on. And I've actually had some friends who did things way later. I don't think people would care how weird it would be to have blank. Your brain would be too aroused to care about the idea of sticking. Yeah, that's somewhat true. Wow, a lot of people are just, this is the thing. Some people are saying very normal things, and then some people are just like talking down on women all of a sudden. Like, why? This post didn't even have much to do with it. Okay, can I read this on YouTube? Let's see. I'm gonna read this, and I'm gonna unblur it because it doesn't seem like there's any bad words yet. But I want to say this to YouTube first. Please understand that I'm reading this as it is. I'm not adding anything, and I'm not telling anyone to actually do this. This is just something that somebody else said, and I actually disagree with all this stuff, or most of this stuff, but let's see. So the title of this one says, The Mathematical Proof Framework of Consent. What the hell? The fact that there is a post on Blackpill about this, is it hard for people to understand that consent is just genuinely asking someone if they want to do something? Like, hey, would you like to hand me that remote? If you say no, then I cannot make you hand me the remote. That's it. Why does it have to be a mathematical equation? I'm gonna fully disagree with this, I bet. But let's read what he says. So we got Slayer here on Incel.is, and he says consent has mathematical depth. It's not enough that people have a basic addition and subtraction understanding of consent. Yes, it's not as binary as yes means yes and no means no. We need to go further as autists and understand consent as a mathematical proof. Okay, so he's going to dissect consent into mathematical terms. Let's hear him out. It could end up being something that I learned, from. For interaction 1, believe two individuals A and B. True consent C exists if and only if it satiates the conditions of safety, autonomy, and mutual affirmation. Okay, all right, here we go. So far, sounds pretty legit. Definitions, C, a state of which individual willingly agrees to an interaction without any pressure, impairment, etc. Safety, a condition or S where the individual feels physical, blah, 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 secure. Autonomy, the ability to make decisions freely without manipulation and external control. Totally. Mutual affirmation, or M, a reciprocal, enthusiastic, and clearly communicated agreement. All right, so axioms. Necessity for safety. S is CS, which is if safety is not present, then consent cannot exist. Okay, I agree. If autonomy is compressed or compromised, then consent is invalid. If both parties do not clearly express their agreement, consent cannot hold. Consent is not static. It must persist through the interaction and remain revocable at any time. That is where a lot of people forget right there. That's where most people forget about. It is not static. Proof. To assume, wait, this actually might be good. Let's hear him out. So, to establish that true consent C exists, we must prove that the necessity conditions of S, A, and M are all satisfied. Yes. 1, assume that consent C is valid. 2, by the axioms, consent implies that presence of S, A, and M, which is safety, autonomy, and mutual affirmation. Yeah. Conversely, if safety, autonomy, and mutual affirmation hold, then consent is present. Therefore, consent exists if and only if all 3 conditions are satisfied. By the way, this is a post that was on must-read content because it had so many comments. So I'm excited to see the comments because I bet you they're going to say something very volatile. Since consent is an ongoing function of time, it must be continuously evaluated. If at any point one of those conditions ceases to hold, then consent is revoked. Thus, any violation of safety, autonomy, and okay, so far, I actually agree with this. Like, this is a valid mathematical. You know, I was going into this about to like roast whatever he was going to say. No, this is like kind of, if you had to be a nerd about it, yeah, this is pretty accurate. And that's why it is important to make sure that whoever you're with, regardless of the situation, there is a ongoing like need for it. And you don't have to ask them every fucking second, but at the same time, you want to make sure that they're, comfortable. So conclusion, consent is a logical construct that relies on multiple interdependent conditions. It is not a singular event, but an ongoing state requiring continuous affirmation. The failure of one component, safety, autonomy, or mutual affirmation renders consent null. This is just a mathematical proof that be both necessary and sufficient. So 2 must consent meets all its conditions without compromise. Use the 4 axioms for I have mathematically proven it's over. What? Anyways, regardless of that last comment, yeah, that is a pretty good dissection. I feel like there's something missing, but it seems pretty legit. Okay, now here we go. I'm gonna have to blur because the comments are gonna be crazy. Someone says okay and then says the N word and says just write a fucking book on consent at this point, and then calls him I'm not what. And then someone says this isn't must-read material, little bro. Damn, there is so much hate on this. Someone says I cringe so hard reading this, and then they're all taking it as a joke. That's so fucked up, dude. Easy, bro cell. Can't say that. He just needs to go to a massage what? Shit. Why didn't any of us think of that? Just oh my God, dude, I can't read these, bro. See, this is what I was expecting because like the original post, valid post. And this is the thing that I hate about this forum. There will be some actual like good insight every now and then, right? You'll see something good like this. And then everyone just dogs on him. And it's like, no one really wants to help each other. It's like they all want to just fail together. It's terribly. I'm so sorry, guys. I really want to read some of this, but it is just every other word is literally a racist term or hating on this guy or hating on the idea of consent itself. I hate mathematical proofs with a passion. Had to pass a course on this, blah, blah. Okay, so yeah, it seems like he's getting so much hate. Wow. Some of this, we're moving on. I'm sorry, guys. Well, I'm glad that we read something like that, I guess. This one says, why black pilling normies always fails and how most incels are not black pilled. Okay, weird. So in their eyes, I'm considered a normie. I'm assuming we're all considered normies. My subscribers, I guess we're normie squad now. But this is going to be their explanation for why black pilling us always fails. Summary: black pilling normies always fails. When normies try to understand incels, they never tackle the black pill itself. In the thread, we investigate the reasons behind this and shock everyone by exposing how most incels are just turncoat Tonys. What does that even mean? Ready to drop the incel moniker in a heartbeat. Stay tuned. Well, that's a good thing. Wouldn't you want them to be with women? Because then that makes them not an incel anymore. So like with that's a good thing. Why would you want to be an incel forever? I don't understand this mentality. All right, stay tuned. Oh my God, he's broken. How long is this? Wow, this is gonna be long. I'm gonna try to speed through this, guys. Okay, blurb. When I first took the black pill, I was excited to know the truth and tried to black pill people in real life. All I got was confusion, hostility, gaslighting, and social consequences. I wonder why. I then found out that there was a subreddit called r/incel tears. Hey, we cover that. That relentlessly denied the black pill despite all the evidence. I watched an incel TV video. There's an incel. What is that? Someone called Brandio tried to give a valid argumentation to the boo pillars he was talking to. But all they did was mute him, and God damn it, now I gotta fucking blur this. They did not even attempt to make arguments themselves. Also, I want to establish at this point, the reason why these posts haven't been as crazy as before, or usually, is because I preference the first one or two, so that I didn't have to blur it. But the ones we're going to get into on Patreon and at the end of this video, I still have two that I'm going to just keep blurred the whole time. Those are going to be more insane because like it's so hard finding anything I can actually read uncensored on this. All right, here we go. As you guys can see, I literally had to blur that. All right, my biggest question was why? How could they not engage us when we have so much data on our side? I spent the last 5 months or so heavily thinking about this. There is not much information on why people denied the black pill, so I took it upon myself to find out. This thread is a collection of information I have come across to make sense of all of it. I hope that this thread gives a good outline on why we get gaslit about the black pill. Thank you for reading my thoughts. All right, I'm gonna give this a very honest take on it, okay? So part one, normies do not understand us at all. Baffling to us, normies always reduce, that's so funny that they call us normies, always reduce incels and the adjacent black pill to a form of rabid emotionalism. For some reason, they reduce the entire subject to incels being a bunch of angry men. They act as if incels have no reasons. I'm going to chime in on this real quick. It's not, at least me, and I know some people genuinely are against incels, right? I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't really care. Like, I don't hate them at all. And I don't like inherently love them. I mean, I like everybody inherently, but it's, to me, whenever I see these specific incels, right? Again, not the normal chill incels. The specific incels go out of their way to say the most hateful things towards women, towards me, like, because I'm a normie, or like r/short guy. Literally, if you guys checked my first r/short guys, they bombarded it, just talking mad crap about me. And I'm literally like, why? I'm on your side. Like, I'm on everyone's side. I just want everyone to be happy in life. So like, I don't understand those type of people. And so for those type of people, it does seem like they are being angry men who act out for very little reasons. I'm going to say their reasoning, they do have reasons. I'm not invalidating their reasons, but I think their reasons are stupid just because they can't get freaking, action. They can't just hate everyone else. Like, that's just not how life should work. I mean, it can for you, but you can't expect anything fun out of it, is what I'm saying. Okay, so I digress. Sorry, I'm already getting mad. All right, not at this person, just at incel culture in general. Ironically, they also reduce it to women issue only, thus proving genocracy exists, but I digress. Even when many of us have tried to expose normies to the black pill, we link data, we printed out studies to no avail. What is the problem with normies? It's clearly not about a lack of good information. What is happening? Why are they doing this? That shall be answered now. But first, definitions, my friend. What is black pill? All right, this is great because I need to know this because sometimes I don't even know. The black pill is the body of value neutral data points derived from academic research, historical sources, and antidotes. Sorry. These findings highlight certain behaviors of both genders. Since the information is very neutral, meaning it contains no value judgments about women or men, therefore there is no reason to ascribe any attributes to nihilistic, fatalistic, self-loathing, misogyny, etc. That's it. That is the black pill. What? That doesn't describe any. I'm confused. What does that even mean? The black pill is a body of value neutral data points derived from academic. But what is the data points that are used, and what is the viewpoints, and what is the academic? Like, what is this? Because if you say that, right, in theory, black pill can be anything. Literally anything that has data. That was so vague. What? And you can have idealistics that have data points that can end up being nihilistic, can end up being self-loathing. Not saying all of them are, so that's a weird thing to say. Okay. Anyways, what is black pill? Wait, what the black pill is not? It is not an ideology. Really? It is not connected to emotions. It is not. That I could understand because it is an actual like thing or concept. It does not make any value judgment about either gender. Not that it could. It just has no personhood. The black pill is not a fatalistic belief system dreamt up by dissatisfied men that hope for more in life. Okay. In fact, the black pill is fit for marriage with any worldview whatsoever. Okay, well, maybe I'm taking him for the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is the true definition. For example, a Christian worldview would easily incorporate the black pill by simply explaining human behavior as corrupt by the fall of man in Genesis. This would be a negative interpretation, suffice to say. A scientist could incorporate the black pill into evolutionary psychology. This would be a neutral take. What about a positive interpretation? Yes, it is possible. For the perspective of people who profit from the black pill, it is absolutely beautiful, my friends. Imagine a psychopath or the powers that could be, or a marketing agent, perhaps. They would adore the black pill. It would make their life so much easier. Maybe it has already. You see, my friends, my point is the black pill is just this nothing. It pertains to be nothing. It judges not. It holds nobody accountable. So the question remains, why is it portrayed as such when normies engage with incels? Is that really what black pill definition? Let's see what it actually means. Black pill is a set of beliefs mostly held by incel communities. Way to describe that. Okay, black pill mentality. This belief system accepts the red pill view of society dominated by women, but rejects individual level attempts such as learning game to achieve a gonna have to blur that blank relationship with women as misguided. So based on the articles, it is complete different definition than what he gave us. What he's saying is black pill is just like studies and stuff, and to him that might be true, but the actual concept of black pill that's popularized, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but whatever we see in incel tiers, in Incel.is, is that it is based on gender and stuff. Anyways, why normies fail to understand us. Morality. It's morality. No, I am not saying any party involved is morally superior or inferior. That is not the argument I'm making. No, I think the problem is the worldview and resulting value judgments of normies compared to the average incel. Okay, all right. We simply value completely different things and thus interpret everything differently. Okay, that I can agree with. Women and normies, why can't women be normies? Women and normies interpretation of reality breaks down to self-benefit. Everything is evaluated first by one criteria. Does it benefit me? If not, it has no value. Kinda. I somewhat agree with that because I think all human nature is somewhat inherently selfish, but not everyone is fully selfish at all times as well. So I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I can get where he's coming from. This is also how propaganda works. You just so frame things so normies think it benefits them. That's true. Your rights to do XYZ are being taken away. Suddenly people are care about that part's true. You're not entitled to anything. This is simply logical fallacious. If the statement holds universally true, then the person making it would be entitled to making it. Yeah, that's true. It's one of those paradoxes. I know that. However, this is not why they say it. It does not come from a logical place. It's a form of violence. What? They're basically saying, F you, take it up the booty and shut up. You know what, guys? I'm from this point on, I'm just gonna blur because this is tough. Or actually, I think I can unblur this. I never know, man. This subreddit is so tough. All right, anyways. B, that's none of your business. Ditto. It is your business to tell me. What is my business is none of your business. It's circular. Okay, so he's saying a lot of paradoxes. Okay. If you don't do XYZ, then you're a bad person. If you don't give money to soup kitcheners, you hate poor people. I don't agree with that, but okay. They don't care about poor people. It's manipulation. Okay, so this is all to, go after his point. As an autist, it took me years to understand this. I'm 26 years old and I still struggle when people not saying what they mean. A lot of people do that. They verbally output in blah, 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 blah. One example of this. Okay. I want to move on to the next part. Acting good equals meaning good. Anything that benefits me is good. With women in particular, this goes as far as not being punished equals being rewarded. This is also why the predominant female power fantasy in movies is playing the villain and gets away with it. In the recent hit show Fleabag, beloved by women, the POV main character is essentially a narcissistic psycho who treats people in her own lives as objects, especially men. Yeah, I never really liked those shows though. For instance, she is aroused by a priest and simply labels him as a hot priest. This is how women actually sees people, utilities. Even Chaz is only viewed as a utility, a hot guy. I disagree. I think there are human beings out there that do equate things to very superficial means and very utilitarian means. 100%. There are people. I don't think it's just women. And I don't think it's just men. I think there are people that do that. And then there are also people who can understand that the value of everything else. So you see someone and you label them other things. You don't label them by superficial means. You label them as, oh, that's the funny guy who is really smart and blah, blah, blah. And so even then it can be even more layers. So I don't agree with this take at all so far. Some of it I have agreed with, but not most of it. Suffice to say, by the end of the show, the man, okay, so he's doing examples. Please look at the picture above, okay? Avoiding punishment, aiming at award, good boy and good girl attitude, loyalty to law and order, justice and spirit of the law, universal principles of ethics. An image of the moral stages as proposed by a law, okay, all right. I actually did take an ethics class, so I kind of remember that. Kohlberg tried to quantify morality in a model. Most people are stuck in the lower levels of 1 and 3, especially women. See, that's where I don't agree, because he thinks that like women are more inclined to doing something like this more than guys. It's essentially saying that guys are more able to, justice and spirit of the law, university principle of ethics and stuff like that. And I don't agree with that. I think human beings in every fucking race and group can be of everything, Okay, so where is he going with this, though? That's my question. Everything is about self-benefit and punishment reward. You know how to kid, blah, 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 blah. All right, and then he gives a bunch of examples with Germany. God, he's giving a lot of examples. But where is he going with this? I want to see. Okay, here we go. This is where all the claims come from. Incels are entitled. Incel only wants Stacy's. Incels are violent. None of this has anything to do with Black Pill. They are projecting their infantile might is right. Oh, so they're actually talking crap about incels too. But a lot of, and even if this person's right, that Black Pill does not mean what we think it means, right? The whole concept of Black Pill is on incel forums and on the incel tiers that we read make us think that incel, that are Black Pill are viewing things like this. So it's like hard to say, because they're kind of forming the definition of it. God, this is so long. I have to kind of skip through a little bit. So then they start talking about, this is why you cannot argue with them. When you talk to normies, you are not debating facts. You are debating paradigms, worldviews, entire systems of thoughts. They don't process information like incels. See, that's another thing. What makes incels so much different from us in terms of just humanity and thinking ways? I get like lifestyle is different, but what? To illustrate how it's all self-beneficial, look at these examples. So he's still giving examples. Okay, let's fast forward, dude. Okay, here we go. Thank God. 5, how most incels are not black-pilled. The dummies, these are the ones that give us the bad name. They operate exactly like normies do, might as well self-benefit to the max. To them, the black pill is inconsequential. It does not even matter. This is more incels than you would think, unfortunately. Shocking. Okay, yeah. Okay, so he does a light on it. It does give him a bad name because in my eyes, black pill, when I see that term, it's just all a bunch of like incel BS. Most incels leave the black pill, get buxed, and moved on. What is buxed? When I first heard this, it boggled my mind. How the F can you move on from an observation like women are 80% of customers? That there's truth in that. The black pill is not restricting to looks and dating. Looks equal health. Health equal. Yeah, okay. So what he's getting at is that black pill is a completely different definition than what we, from seeing incels talk about it, derived. And that might be true. However, incels are not making it look good. All right, final thoughts and doctor orders. Thank God, because that was really long. I hope I could illustrate why it's impossible for normies to be black-pilled, and also why many incels are not really black-pilled. Honestly, black pillars and blue pillars shouldn't talk to each other. I don't agree with that either, because then how can you ever understand? Like, even me reading this was somewhat insightful in a stance that I understood, like, okay, this guy specifically thinks black pill is a genuine blanket term, and it doesn't really mean what I thought it meant. As communication is not possible, women will never say that looks matter unless it benefits them somehow. No, I can wholeheartedly say that I have met women that will just downright say women looks do matter. And I also think looks matter. I can't date somebody that I'm not attracted to. It's just what it is. And the final pill of the day is people are capable of understanding these problems. They would have already been fixed. If there was no solution, there would be no market. Okay, I agree. That was a whole lot of weird. Let's move on. That was a lot. I thought he was going to go somewhere with it, and he kind of didn't. Anyways, oh my God, I have to blur this one. Never trust a woman when it comes to their insecurities. She will use that against you is the title. Oh, here we go. She will 100% weaponize that against you if you ever make her mad enough. Seen it happen so many times. Stop. Sorry. Sora just like clawed the back of my chair. Jeez, dude. Do you want to be in the video? He wants to talk to you guys apparently, but then he always shies up in front of the camera. Women are often just not as straightforward and won't reveal how they really feel about you, instead choosing to mask it behind the wall of lies, slithering around you like so many derogatory terms. This is the reason why they can't admit to the black pill. Again, this is why black pill gets a bad rap and have to lie and say they do like ugly men. Women just have a natural affinity for lying. What? Then at the other end, she unleashes it all in an argument, tells you how unmanly you are or how your stuff wasn't big enough to her, or that she's way out of your league and has pity for you. You know what? I'm gonna say he's probably basing this off of like movies or something, but this has actually happened to me once. It's not a common occurrence. Like, women don't all do this. Most women don't. Most women are cool. Like, I will say there was one girl who, when I ended things with, she did say a lot of that stuff. So I will say, like, but there are also guys who do that too. So it's not, I don't think it's a women versus men thing. I think it's just a bad person kind of vibe where they like, as soon as we see it all the time, nice girls and nice guys. I mean, both of them, as soon as they get rejected, they start saying all these BS stuff. I think this is the reason why so many ex-boyfriends snap and the fruit, grape, or unalive their ex-girlfriends, or unalive the next guy they date. This amount of sociological trauma is quite overwhelming. Well, I think there's a lot of other reasons. Like they're a POS and they're a terrible human being. Then how is it the woman's fault that they just said in a way they just said that women lying is the reason why men do these things? No. If that's the reason, that is the dumbest reason. What are you talking about? Okay. God, I'm so over this, guys. I'm at that point, and it's always incel tears and Incel.is where I get so tired and drained. Okay, I won't tell my GF about my insecurities. Thanks, OP. Never trust a woman, period. You don't need to specify. They're just untrustworthy to the core. Dude, you could say the exact same thing about men. You should never trust anyone right away. What? I can't emphasize this more. Never reveal your weakness to women, even if you trust them. God, that is... All right. Well, on that note, I'm done. For the Patreon folks, we're going to read some stuff. Completely uncensored, probably another 10 minutes of content. If you guys are interested in that, first link in the description box. Sorry, so many of this had to be blurred, and it was just so weird. Every time we go into Incel.is, I just have no clue what we're about to read. Anyways, I love you guys. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell. We are well on the way to 20,000 subscribers. Love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Bye.